Homestead Voices for Equity. Now, this was the product of a collaboration that started really back in it started back in 2017, but during that time, and I have another slide that'll sort of illustrate that, we had some parallel processes going on. We had the statewide health improvement program, the joint study on race and as a public health issue, and then we had One Olmsted. All of them working very similarly and with some similar goals of really promoting and supporting equity and diversity in our government activities. So here's a timeline. Back in 2017, the county board approved a resolution called One Olmsted, and this really dedicated and committed the county to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Out of that resolution came One Olmsted work group, which began to really put into practice, put into reality that commitment. At the same time, we had the public health and statewide health improvement happening, where they were going along, as I said, kind of moving along in a similar direction. And then we had in 2020, we had the joint, or from 2020 to 2022, we had the joint study. I think all of us came to a conclusion just in this sort of serendipitous way. I mean, we in One Olmsted really believed in this idea of getting community's voice involved in the operations of the county. We've had attempts to do that in some of our advisory committees and in some of our other kinds of work groups, but it's always been a kind of ad hoc process. I mean, where we've set up a group and then said, "Oh, let's involve the community. We want to have the community's voice involved," and then we tend to kind of get the usual suspects. I mean, we reach out and we get some folks to come in, and it's generally one or two or three folks from the community who sit on these advisory boards and committees. And that puts them in a difficult position, and it doesn't really give us as good a feel for the community as we'd hope for. As SHIP moved along and in their process, they came to a realization that they needed a community leadership team to put all of these principles into play. And in joint study, they also one of the 72 recommendations that they came up with, one of which is to create a sort of a group to sort of oversee the work of and progress of those recommendations. So we started to realize that we were all sort of moving in that same direction. And so we said, all right, let's really build a community council. So one of the things that we did in 2020, well, toward the end of 2022, was we said, okay, so what should that group look like, and what should their mission be? So we determined that the group should be made up of folks from the community, a diverse group of community folks, working with some staff support, Homestead County staff support. And their charge was really to build the architecture for the community council. What was it? We were gonna build this from the ground up. What was this council going to look like? What was it going to do? How was it going to function? Who was going to be on it? All of those questions were were posed to the design team to come up with answers to. The other thing that was happening again in this process was that or of late actually was the goal. The Olmsted County developed a series of goals and strategic priorities, one of which is community trust and engagement. And that fits perfectly with the notion of the community council and MOVE. So as we talked about some of the work that the council is going to be involved in, we realized that we wanted them to reach back into their respective communities and get feedback, get input from their cohorts. And how we're going to do that is using some of the IAP2 spectrum of public participation. So we're going to train folks. I mean, one of the things that we're building into this concept is training the members of the community council in how to do facilitation, how to conduct these kinds of meetings, and and so we're really looking at the work of the council being more toward, well, it's going to involve all of the different elements here, both inform, consult, involve, and collaborate. But we're thinking that the heart of the work is going to be at the collaboration level. So what is MOVE? So MOVE is a diverse group of community members. What we're trying to do is and one of the things that the design team spent quite a bit of time on is defining who is community, what is community, and what does that look like, and who, if we were going to have a community group that's representative of everyone, how would we go about doing that? What was that going to look like? We also talked about calling the members connectors, because because essentially that's what we're wanting them to do, is connect their constituents in the community with leadership and programs in the county. And we're expecting them to engage the communities that they represent on a regular basis to provide information to them, but also to get feedback from them to bring to the county. And we're counting on that lived experience. We're really, I mean, we believe very strongly that lived experience is essential to the county's ability to create programs that are meaningful and to create programs that don't cause harm. I mean, we're wanting to hear from folks who are experiencing these programs as to what the impact on them is. Our initial focus as we begin is going to be on public health related topics. And by public health, I'm not just talking about the public health department, but I'm also talking about public health sort of writ large. I mean, so if we talk about the social determinants of health, we are going to be talking about housing, education, health, access to services, etc. And as I said, we're looking at creating a two-way communication loop between the county and the community. So as I said, we spent quite a bit of time trying to define who the community connector should be. And this is just an example. It's not the entire example, but this is just the categories of people and identities that we think are important to be part of this. We also recognize the concept of intersectionality, and so there may be members of MOVE who have several identities and brings those to the work. So I can't tell you just right offhand, because one of the questions we get asked often is, how many people is this going to be? And if we look at if we just count the number of categories here, and let's say there's two from each, like Noah's Ark, we're going to have two from each category. You can sort of do the math. The math is simple, but as I said, there may be people with multiple identities. There may be some identities that we haven't even figured out yet, we're going to want. So we're thinking, probably estimating that somewhere between probably 20 and 30, maybe 35, will be the number of members ideally that we're looking for. So one of the things so what the design team did, when I said they were really charged with building the architecture, one of the first things that we did right out of the box was ask these folks, and the design team, by the way, was made up of 9 community members and 5 staff and support. So one of the things they did right out of the box was researching other jurisdictions and looking at what have other jurisdictions done, of councils or community organizations that they put together. And I mean, we looked across the country, and we had some, and we actually went and talked to some folks in other parts of the country as to what their experiences have been, what some of the barriers have been, what some of the mistakes that they made in the beginning, and so on. So we did that, sort of our due diligence, I think, in looking at how this thing might work, how it has worked in other places, and so on. We developed a work plan. As I said, we spent a lot of time defining what is community. We developed a mission and vision statement. We looked at what is out of scope for the council. What are the things we're not going to be doing? How we're going to prioritize. We did the membership, roles and responsibilities, etc. So what's next? So where we are now, we started, by the way, in January of 2023 was our first meeting. We met every other week without exception through April of this year. And at that point, so that's about 15 months, we decided that we were ready to move to the next phase, which is where we are now, where we're bringing the word out to the community. We're doing some community information sessions, lunch and learn opportunities. We've got applications set up, and out there. We're actively looking to recruit people who are interested in committing to this work. And we're not setting a deadline for, like between now and, let's say, September is the end of application time. We're going to keep an open, rolling, application process going, but hopefully we'll have a critical mass by the end of this quarter, and we'll be able to start with the implementation phase. We're sort of in the recruitment, not sort of, we're in the recruitment phase now. We'll move to the implementation phase in the fourth quarter, where we'll be doing training, as I said, on the IEP2 tools, on DEI facilitation, team building, etc. If you have questions, I'm certainly willing to entertain those questions. But if you have other things, comments or questions that you have after this that you'd like to get answers to, this is our email address. And also, these are the folks who are part of from the county side, the support folks to move. So thank you. Any questions? let me stop sharing here.
Any question from anybody? If not, I'll ask one, okay, and mindful of time. What might be the work product of the group of this council, John?
The work product?
Yeah,
That's a great question. What we're thinking is, the way we've been talking about this is, when let's say we do a listening session in a particular community, and they come up with something, a question or concern, or just something they want to bring back to the county. What we're going to do what the council is going to do is, every question is going to be triaged and prioritized, and we have a workflow process, so that so questions come in, we're gonna tag them basically, and then we will either, there are several things that could happen. One is, if it's just a simple information seeking question, we'll assign folks to go get the information, or we will, or or in that process, we'll get the appropriate person in the county to come and give an answer, and then we'll take that answer back. If it's something else, a more of a detailed issue, we will set up a work group, which will be comprised of folks from, not everybody, but a subgroup of folks in MOVE, and then whoever the appropriate person in the county is, we'll get them involved in working up and coming up with either a plan or a solution, or somehow response to those questions. And then we're going to have regular meetings with the community, where we will come back and give feedback on those issues that they've brought up. So as I said, we've put in place a process so that we don't lose questions or issues that come up, and we'll have a record of so what the resolution of those questions or issues are. We're also hoping, one of the other things we're looking to do is, when something happens so if a county program is going to come up with some new initiative, that they will reach out to MOVE to get feedback uh, on how this is being received, or how it's being perceived in the community. So the communication will flow both ways. I mean, so it may be that the county says, or an advisory committee, for example, says, how is this working out there in the community? And we'll be able to reach out into the community to get feedback, and bring that back to the advisory committee or the work group, or whatever it is on the county side.
okay, thank you. Last chance for questions, comments from anybody. If not, thank you.